The divorce papers landed on his hospital blanket before his wife even said hello. Park Ha-jun could not move. His head was wrapped in blood-stained bandages, the white gauze turning pink where the wounds still wept. His face was swollen beyond recognition, purple bruises blooming across his cheekbones, a gash above his eyebrow held together with crude black stitches. 3 broken ribs made every breath feel like knives. Internal bleeding, fractured skull. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive. He had been lying in this hospital bed for 5 days, waiting for Nicole to hold his hand, waiting for her to whisper that they would get through this together, waiting for the woman he had loved for 8 years to show up and be his wife. Instead, she brought her lover. Nicole stood at the foot of his bed in her emerald green silk dress, the fabric shimmering under the harsh fluorescent lights. Her hair was styled in perfect waves. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like she was attending a gala, not visiting her critically injured husband. The man beside her, the one Ha-jun had never met but somehow knew in his gut, wore a sharp black suit and white shirt. His posture was casual, possessive. His hand rested on Nicole's lower back. "Sign while the painkillers are still working," Nicole said, her voice devoid of warmth. She tossed the papers onto his lap with the carelessness of someone discarding trash. "You can barely hold a pen anyway." Then she laughed. The sound cut through the sterile silence of the hospital room like glass shattering. The man beside her joined in, his smug grin widening as he leaned closer to whisper something in Nicole's ear. She threw her head back, her laughter echoing off the walls, and Ha-jun felt something inside him break that had nothing to do with his ribs. He tried to speak. His throat was raw from the breathing tube they had pulled out yesterday. All that came out was a choked sob. "Pathetic," Nicole said, her eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. "You were always too soft, Ha-jun, too weak. You thought love was enough? You thought being nice would build us an empire?" She leaned forward, her emerald dress catching the light, and for a moment, Ha-jun remembered why he had fallen for her. She had been beautiful then, too, but now that beauty was a mask hiding something monstrous. "I've been liquidating everything," she continued, her voice almost gleeful. "The house, the cars, your precious little investments, and my company, the one you said would never amount to anything, I'm selling it for $200 million to Callaway Holdings." Ha-jun's vision blurred with tears. He clutched the divorce papers in trembling hands, the ink smudging under his fingers. "By the time you sign this," Nicole said, straightening up, "you'll have nothing. No assets, no wife, no future. Just this hospital bed and whatever pathetic pride you think you still have." The lovers smirked. "Come on, babe, let's get out of here. This place smells like failure." They turned to leave, their laughter fading as they walked toward the door. But they did not notice the older man standing in the shadowed corner of the room. He had been there the entire time. Park Woo-jin stood perfectly still, his arms crossed over his pristine dark suit. His silver-gray hair was slicked back, revealing a face carved from decades of survival and violence. Subtle tattoos, symbols of the Korean underworld, peeked from beneath his collar. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes burned with a cold, calculated fury that could make grown men beg for mercy. Nicole and her lover did not see him. They walked out, still laughing, still celebrating. But Ha-jun saw him, and in that moment, through the pain and the tears and the humiliation, Ha-jun understood. His father had come. But Nicole Park made one fatal mistake that day. She did not know her husband's estranged father was Park Woo-jin, a name whispered in fear across Seoul's underground. She did not know that father had been watching from the shadows for 15 years, waiting for the day his son would need him. And 6 months ago, that father had quietly purchased Callaway Holdings, the very company Nicole thought would make her a billionaire. Every liquidated asset, every stolen account, every lie she had told, someone had been keeping records. What happens when a woman who thinks she has won discovers the empire she was selling belongs to the man she just tried to destroy? What happens to a man who chose love for power when he realizes that sometimes survival requires embracing the darkness you were born into? This is not just a story about revenge. This is a story about a man who thought he could outrun his bloodline and discovered that some inheritances cannot be buried. Stay until the end, because the moment Nicole walks into that boardroom and sees her father-in-law sitting at the head of the table and her broken husband standing beside him will leave you absolutely breathless. Welcome to Afro Soul's Storybook. Subscribe to watch more of our daily stories and comment where you're watching. The silence in the room after Nicole left was suffocating. Ha-jun lay there, the divorce papers crumpled against his chest, his breath coming in short, agonizing gasps. Each inhale felt like someone was twisting a blade between his ribs. The machines beside him beeped in steady rhythm, a mechanical heartbeat that mocked the one struggling inside his broken body. He had not cried like this since he was a child, not when his mother died, not when he left his father's house at 17, swearing he would never return. But now, alone in this sterile room with the taste of copper in his mouth and the echo of Nicole's laughter still ringing in his ears, the tears came freely. She had planned this. Every moment of their last year together had been a calculated move. The way she had suddenly taken interest in his assets, the sudden urgency to put both their names on accounts, the way she had convinced him to sign over power of attorney just in case something happens. He had thought it was love. He had thought she was being responsible. He had been a fool. Ha-jun tried to sit up, but his body refused. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, radiating from his skull down through his spine. The doctors had said he was lucky the car had not killed him. Lucky. Nicole's lover had been driving that night. Nicole had insisted Ha-jun go to the meeting alone, said she was not feeling well. The other car had run the red light at exactly the right moment, or the wrong moment, depending on who you asked. The door to his room opened with a soft click. Ha-jun assumed it was a nurse coming to check his vitals. He did not bother looking up. He did not want anyone to see him like this, broken, weeping, defeated. But the footsteps that entered were different, heavier, deliberate. Then he heard it, the sharp intake of breath from the hallway, a nurse's voice, high and trembling. "Sir, you cannot—" "Leave." The voice was low, quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. "But hospital policy." "I said, leave." There was a pause, then rapid footsteps retreating down the hallway, more voices, urgent whispers, the sound of the entire floor being evacuated. Ha-jun forced himself to look up through his swollen eyes. Park Woo-jin stood at the foot of his bed. His father had not changed much in 15 years. Perhaps the gray in his hair had spread further, the lines around his mouth had deepened, but the eyes remained the same, cold, calculating, the eyes of a man who had built an empire on the backs of those who underestimated him. Woo-jin was dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his tie knotted with precision. His hands were clasped behind his back, his posture rigid as a soldier's. The tattoos that marked him as a member of the Jogae-pa, the most feared syndicate in Seoul, were just barely visible above his collar. A serpent's tail, the mark of someone who had killed for his position and would kill again to keep it. "Hello, Ha-jun," Woo-jin said. His voice was devoid of emotion. Ha-jun's throat closed. He tried to speak, but no words came, just a pathetic wheezing sound that made him hate himself even more. Woo-jin moved closer, his expensive shoes clicking against the linoleum floor. He pulled a chair from the corner of the room and sat down beside the bed with the careful precision of a man who did nothing without intention. "I told you," Woo-jin said quietly, "that the world would eat you alive if you tried to live in it like a sheep. You did not listen." Ha-jun shook his head weakly. I did not want—" Woo-jin said, "You did not want my life, I know." Woo-jin's expression did not change. You wanted something clean, something honest. You thought you could build a life with love and good intentions. How did that work out for you?" The words were like a slap across Ha-jun's already bruised face. Woo-jin reached into his jacket and pulled out a thin folder. He opened it slowly, deliberately, and placed it on Ha-jun's lap. Inside were photographs. Nicole and her lover at a restaurant. Nicole signing papers in a sleek office. Nicole laughing in a car, the same car that hit Ha-jun's vehicle 5 days ago. Her name is Nicole Park now, but she was born Nicole Chen. Did you know that? Her family came from Busan, small-time loan sharks who lost everything in the '97 crisis. She learned early that survival meant taking from those who had more. Ha-jun stared at the photographs, his vision blurring. "She has been liquidating your assets for 6 months," Woo-jin continued, his tone as casual as if he were discussing the weather. "The house in Gangnam, the vacation property in Jeonju, your investment portfolio, all of it, gone, transferred to offshore accounts under shell companies. Very clever, actually. She used your own signatures, forged over time from documents you thought were benign." "Why?" Ha-jun's voice cracked. "Why are you telling me this?" Woo-jin closed the folder and set it aside. "Because you are my son, and because she made a mistake." "What mistake?" "She is selling her company to Callaway Holdings, $200 million. The deal closes in 3 weeks. Woo-jin's lips curved at something that might have been a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Callaway Holdings is mine. I purchased it 6 months ago through a network of subsidiary companies. Every contract she has signed, every negotiation she has had with their lawyers, every promise they have made to her about making her a billionaire, all of it has been me." Ha-jun felt his heart stop. You own..." "I own the company she thinks will save her. I own the accounts where she has been hiding your money. I own the lawyers who will review the divorce settlement. I own, Ha-jun, everything she thinks she has won." Woo-jin leaned forward, his eyes boring into his son's. "The only question is what you want me to do with that ownership." Ha-jun's hands trembled. The divorce papers were still clutched in his fingers, now damped with sweat and tears. "I do not understand." "Yes, you do." Woo-jin's voice was soft now, almost gentle. "You understand perfectly. You have always understood. You just chose to pretend the world was something other than what it is." He stood, straightening his jacket. "I will give you time to think, but not much time. In 3 weeks, Nicole will walk into a boardroom expecting to become rich. What happens in that room is up to you." Woo-jin turned to leave, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor beyond. "Why now?" Ha-jun called out, his voice hoarse. "You stayed away for 15 years. Why come back now?" Woo-jin paused at the door. He did not turn around. "Because you are my son, and because she tried to kill you." His voice dropped to a whisper. "No one touches what is mine." Then he was gone. The hospital floor remained eerily quiet for the rest of the night. No nurses came to check on Ha-jun. No doctors made their rounds. It was as if the entire wing had been sealed off from the rest of the world. Ha-jun lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing despite the pain medication coursing through his veins. His father's words echoed in his skull. "She tried to kill you." He had suspected it, of course. The timing of the accident had been too convenient. But hearing it spoken aloud, confirmed by someone who had the resources to know the truth, made it real in a way that gutted him. Nicole had not just wanted to leave him, she had wanted him dead. The door opened again near dawn. This time, it was not his father. Min-jun walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee and a bag of pastries from the convenience store down the street. He was dressed in his usual casual style, ripped jeans, oversized hoodie, sneakers that had seen better days. His hair was a mess, like he had just rolled out of bed. He looked nothing like the kind of person who would have access to a locked-down hospital floor. But Min-jun was Ha-jun's oldest friend. They had grown up together in the same neighborhood, long before Ha-jun's life had taken him away from his father's world. Min-jun was the only person Ha-jun had trusted when everything started falling apart. "You look like shit," Min-jun said, setting the coffee down on the bedside table. Ha-jun managed a weak laugh. "I feel like shit." Min-jun pulled up the chair Woo-jin had used and sat down heavily. For a moment, he just stared at Ha-jun, his expression unreadable. Then he sighed and ran a hand through his messy hair. "Your father sent me," he said quietly. Ha-jun froze. "What?" "I have been working for him for 3 years, Ha-jun, since before you even met Nicole." Min-jun would not meet his eyes. "He asked me to keep an eye on you, make sure you were safe, report back if anything seemed wrong." The betrayal hit Ha-jun like a physical blow. You were spying on me?" "I was protecting you," Min-jun's voice was firm. "And it's a damn good thing I was, because 2 months ago I started noticing things. Nicole meeting with people she should not have been meeting with. Money moving in ways that did not make sense. I dug deeper." He pulled out his phone and handed it to Ha-jun. On the screen was a photograph of Nicole's lover, the man in the black suit who had been laughing at Ha-jun's bedside. But in this photo, he was not laughing. He was sitting across from 2 men in a dimly lit restaurant, men Ha-jun recognized from the news. Members of the Yeongdong-po gang, a rival syndicate that had been at war with his father's organization for decades. "His name is David Choi. He has been working for the Yeongdong-po for 5 years. Nicole does not know it, but her lover is using her to get to your father. The company she is selling, the assets she has been liquidating, all of it was supposed to fund a move against Woo-jin's operations." Ha-jun felt sick. "She's working with them?" "No, she is being used by them. David fed her every idea, every strategy. He convinced her that you were weak, that she deserved better, that she should take everything and run. But the moment that deal with Callaway closes, the Yeongdong-po planned to kill her and take the money. She's a pawn, Ha-jun, and she doesn't even know it." Ha-jun closed his eyes. The pain in his chest had nothing to do with his broken ribs anymore. "Your father found out 2 weeks ago," Min-jun continued. "That's when he accelerated his plans. He wasn't just going to let Nicole destroy you. He was going to use her to destroy the Yeongdong-po." "How?" Min-jun's smile was grim. "You'll see. But first, you need to get better, because Woo-jin wants you there when it all comes down. He wants you standing beside him when Nicole realizes what she has done." The next 6 weeks were hell. Ha-jun's body fought him every step of the way. The physical therapists his father hired were not gentle. They pushed him past his limits, forced him to walk when every muscle screamed in protest, made him lift weights that felt like mountains. His father's men stood guard outside his private recovery facility, a luxury rehabilitation center that was less a hospital and more a fortress. Every morning, Ha-jun woke up to the sound of his father's voice on the phone in the next room, conducting business in low, measured tones. Every evening, Woo-jin would sit with him over dinner, saying nothing, just watching as Ha-jun forced himself to eat despite the nausea. It was during one of these silent dinners that Ha-jun finally spoke. "I do not want to be like you." Woo-jin set down his chopsticks and looked at his son. "I know. But I want her to pay." Woo-jin nodded slowly. "Then you will have to decide how much of me you are willing to become." Ha-jun stared at his father, the man who had terrified him as a child, the man whose world was built on violence and fear, the man he had run from because he believed there was something better. "I don't have to become you to use what you have built." For the first time in 15 years, Park Woo-jin smiled at his son. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator recognizing another predator. Good. Then let's finish this. By the end of the 6th week, Ha-jun could walk without assistance. His face had healed, though the scars remained. He looked at himself in the mirror one morning and barely recognized the man staring back. He looked harder, older. His eyes carried a weight they had not held before. The divorce papers still sat unsigned in a drawer beside his bed. Min-jin came to visit on a rainy Thursday afternoon. He found Ha-jun in the facility's gym, lifting weights under the watchful eye of one of Woo-jin's enforcers, a man whose neck was thicker than most people's thighs. "She signed her company over yesterday," Min-jin said, leaning against the doorframe. "The deal is done. Callaway Holdings now owns everything she had. $200 million transferred to an account she thinks is hers. She's planning to celebrate tonight. Champagne, fancy restaurant. David is taking her out." Ha-jun set down the weights carefully. His sweat dripped down his face. His hands no longer trembled. His body no longer betrayed him. "When is the meeting?" Min-jun's smile faded. "Next Tuesday, 10 a.m., Callaway's headquarters downtown. She's been told the CEO wants to meet her personally to discuss her role in the new organizational structure." Min-jun grinned. "She thinks they're going to make her COO. And David? The Youngdong Po has been fed information that Callaway's merger files contain evidence of Woo-jin's money laundering operations. They're planning a raid on the office the same day. They think they're going to catch your father with his guard down." Ha-jun picked up a towel and wiped his face. His hands no longer trembled. His body no longer betrayed him. "What does my father want me to do?" Min-jun's smile faded. "He wants you at that meeting. He wants you to look her in the eye when she realizes what she has done. And then," he paused, "then he wants you to decide her fate." Ha-jun turned to look at his reflection in the gym's mirrored wall. The man staring back at him was not the soft, naive businessman who had married Nicole 8 years ago. That man had died in a hospital bed, choking on his own blood while his wife laughed. This man was something else. "Tell my father," Ha-jun said quietly, "that I will be there." The call came on a Sunday evening. Nicole was at her apartment, the penthouse she had purchased with Ha-jun's liquidated assets, when her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but the voice on the other end was smooth, professional, insistent. "Ms. Park, this is James Kwan from Callaway Holdings. We need to expedite the final paperwork. There's been a complication with the merger timeline, and our investors are requesting that all documentation be finalized by Tuesday morning." Nicole frowned, setting down her wine glass. "Tuesday? That's 2 days away. I was told we had until the end of the month." "I understand, but the board has concerns about regulatory filings. We need the divorce settlement finalized as well. Clean separation of assets before the company can be fully integrated into our portfolio. It's standard procedure for acquisitions of this size." "The divorce isn't your concern," Nicole said sharply. "Actually, Miss Park, it is. Your husband still has legal claim to portions of the company's intellectual property. We need absolute certainty that there are no outstanding marital assets that could complicate ownership. Our legal team has prepared amended documents. If you can come to our offices Monday morning to review and sign, we can have everything processed by the Tuesday meeting." Nicole hesitated. Something about the urgency felt off. But then she thought about the $200 million sitting in her account. She thought about David, about their plans to leave the country, about the life they were going to build far away from this place. "Fine," she said. "Monday morning. What time?" 9 a.m. And Miss Park, please bring your husband's signature as well. If he's unable to travel, we can send a notary to his location." "He'll sign," Nicole said coldly. "Trust me." She hung up and immediately called David. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice thick with sleep. "Babe, what's wrong?" "They want to move everything up, Monday and Tuesday. Can you come with me?" There was a pause. Of course, whatever you need. Nicole smiled. I love you. I love you too. But David Choi did not go back to sleep after that call. Instead, he sent a text message to a number that had no name attached. 3 words. She took the bait. The response came 30 seconds later. Tuesday, be ready. Monday morning arrived wrapped in gray clouds and the threat of rain. Nicole wore her power suit, black Armani, red heels, her hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. She looked like success. She felt like victory. David drove her to the Callaway building, a gleaming tower of glass and steel in the heart of Seoul's financial district. The lobby was pristine, all marble and minimalist design. Security guards in dark suits stood at attention near the elevators. Ms. Park, Mr. Kwon is expecting you, 42nd floor. The elevator ride was silent, except for the soft jazz playing through hidden speakers. Nicole checked her reflection in the mirrored walls. Perfect. Everything was perfect. The 42nd floor was a maze of conference rooms and executive offices. A young woman in a crisp white blouse met them as the elevator doors opened. Ms. Park, Mr. Choi, please follow me. She led them to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The table was long and polished, surrounded by leather chairs. Stacks of documents were arranged in neat piles, each one marked with colored tabs. Mr. Kwon will be with you shortly. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? I'm fine, Nicole said, already moving toward the documents. David remained standing near the door, his hands in his pockets. His eyes scanned the room with the practiced casualness of someone looking for exits. Nicole began reading through the papers. The language was dense, legal jargon that made her eyes glaze over, but the numbers were clear. 200 million, clean transfer, full ownership. She flipped to the signature page, found the line marked for her name, then she saw the other line, the one marked spousal consent. They're serious about the divorce, Nicole muttered. They actually need his signature. Did you bring the papers? David asked. Nicole pulled a folder from her bag. Inside were the divorce papers, the same ones she had thrown at Ha-jun in his hospital bed 7 weeks ago, unsigned. She had planned to forge his signature if necessary, but now, with Callaway's lawyers watching, forgery felt too risky. I'll need to go back to the hospital, get him to sign today. Will he? Nicole's smile was cruel. He doesn't have a choice. But before she could gather the papers, the conference room door opened. James Kwon entered, but he was not alone. Behind him were 4 men in dark suits, their faces expressionless. They positioned themselves around the room with military precision. The door closed behind them with a soft, final click. Ms. Park, Kwon said, his smile too wide. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Let's get this done, Nicole said impatiently. I have the divorce papers here, but I need to... Actually, interrupted Kwon, there's been a change of plans. The CEO would like to meet you personally before any documents are signed. He's very particular about the people he does business with. Nicole blinked. The CEO, I thought, he rarely involves himself in acquisitions, but your case is special. He'll be here shortly. Please, sit. Make yourself comfortable. The men in suits had not moved. David shifted uncomfortably, his hand moving toward his phone. I'd prefer not to wait. I have other appointments. I'm afraid I must insist. And this time his smile did not reach his eyes. The CEO is very eager to meet you. Something in his tone made Nicole's stomach tighten. She glanced at David, who looked equally uneasy. But before either of them could speak, the door opened again, and Park Woo-jin walked in. Nicole did not recognize him at first. She had never met Ha-jun's father. Ha-jun had told her his parents were dead, a lie she had never questioned because she had never cared enough to dig deeper. But the moment Woo-jin entered the room, the atmosphere changed. The men in suits straightened. Kwon stepped aside. Even David went pale. Ms. Park, Woo-jin said, his voice quiet and measured. Please, sit down. Who are you? I am Park Woo-jin, CEO of Callaway Holdings, and your father-in-law. The room tilted. Nicole grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. Your Ha-jun's father? But he said, "My son has told many lies to protect himself from my world. Unfortunately for you, that world has now found him, and you." Woo-jin moved to the head of the table and sat down with the careful precision of a king taking his throne. "Sit. We have much to discuss." Nicole's legs moved before her brain could catch up. She collapsed into the nearest chair. David remained standing, his eyes darting toward the door. "Mr. Choi," Woo-jin said, without looking at him, "if you attempt to leave this room, my men will break both your legs before you reach the elevator. Sit." David sat. Woo-jin folded his hands on the table. "Let me explain something to you, Ms. Park. 6 months ago, I purchased Callaway Holdings through a series of shell corporations. Every contract you have signed, every negotiation you have had with our lawyers, every promise made about your future, all of it was orchestrated by me." Nicole's mouth went dry. That's not possible." "Your company is now mine. The $200 million you believe is in your account, it is in an account I control. The assets you liquidated from my son, also mine. You have spent the last 6 months destroying yourself, and you were so eager to do it that you never once stopped to question who was helping you." No, you're lying." Woo-jin opened the folder in front of him and slid a document across the table. Bank statements, transaction records, all of it showing money flowing into accounts owned by subsidiaries of companies owned by other companies, all leading back to Callaway, all leading back to Woo-jin. "You tried to kill my son," Woo-jin said, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow filled the entire room. "Did you think I would not notice? Did you think I would not care?" I never." Nicole's eyes snapped to David. "You said it would look like an accident. You said no one would trace it back to us." David's face had gone gray. He said nothing. Woo-jin smiled. It was the most terrifying thing Nicole had ever seen. "Mr. Choi did not act alone," Woo-jin said. "He has been working for the Yongding-po gang for 5 years. They wanted access to my operations, and you were their key. Every move you made was feeding intelligence back to my enemies. The accident, the liquidation, the sale of your company, all of it was designed to funnel money and information to people who want me dead." Nicole turned to David, her eyes wide with betrayal. You were using me?" David finally found his voice. "I loved you. This was never supposed to—" "You loved her money, and you loved the idea of taking down the Jogye-pa, but you failed because you underestimated me, and you underestimated my son." The door opened for a 3rd time. Ha-jun walked in. Nicole's breath caught in her throat. He looked different, stronger. The bandages were gone, replaced with thin scars that cut across his forehead and cheek. His suit was tailored, expensive, dark as midnight. His eyes, those soft, kind eyes she had once found so easy to manipulate, were cold now, empty of everything except resolve. "Hello, Nicole," Ha-jun said. She tried to stand, but her legs would not hold her. "Ha-jun, this isn't what it looks like. I didn't know about David. I didn't know about any of this. Please, you have to believe me." Ha-jun moved to stand beside his father. Min-jun entered behind him, carrying a laptop. He set it on the table and opened it, turning the screen toward Nicole. "This is footage from the night of the accident. My father's men were following me. They have been following me for years, though I did not know it until recently." The video played. Nicole saw herself in David's car, parked 2 blocks from the intersection. She saw David on his phone, coordinating. She saw the moment the other vehicle ran the light. She saw her own face, her expression not of horror, but of satisfaction. No, please." Ha-jun continued. This is a copy of the shell company documents you signed. You thought you were hiding assets in offshore accounts, but every account you opened, every transfer you made was documented and traced. The divorce papers you wanted me to sign, they included a clause that would transfer all remaining assets to you as a settlement, assets that no longer exist because they are all here, in this company which my father now owns. Nicole's mouth went dry. That's not possible. You'll go to the police, Woo-jin asked calmly. That you attempted to murder your husband, that you committed fraud, that you laundered money through criminal enterprises. Please, Miss Park, by all means, go to the police. Ha-jun pulled a chair and sat down across from Nicole. For a long moment, he just looked at her. The woman he had loved, the woman who had destroyed him. I spent weeks deciding what I wanted to do to you, he said quietly. My father offered me many options. Some of them involved you disappearing. Some of them involved pain. All of them involved revenge. Nicole was crying now, mascara running down her face. Please, Ha-jun, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll give back everything. I'll disappear. Just let me go. But then I realized something, Ha-jun continued, as if she had not spoken. Revenge is not about what I do to you. It is about what you do to yourself. You destroyed your own life. You liquidated your own assets. You signed away your own future. I did not have to lift a finger. I just had to wait. He stood and nodded to Minjun. Show her the rest. Minjun clicked a button on the laptop. The screen changed to a live feed, a police raid, officers swarming an office building, men led away in handcuffs. Nicole recognized some of them, members of the Yongdingpo gang, David's contacts. Your lover's associates are being arrested as we speak. Evidence of their operations has been turned over to the authorities, including evidence of your involvement. I didn't know what they were doing.
That will be for the courts to decide, Ha-jun said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the divorce papers, the same ones Nicole had thrown at him in the hospital. I signed these this morning. You are free to go, Nicole, free to face the consequences of what you have done. 2 police officers entered the room, their presence sudden and official. Nicole Park, one of them said, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and money laundering. You have the right to remain silent. As they led her away, Nicole turned back to Ha-jun one last time. Her face was a mask of horror and disbelief. How could you do this to me? Ha-jun's expression did not change. I did not do anything to you, Nicole. You did this to yourself. The door closed behind her. The room fell silent. David had not moved. He sat frozen in his chair, his face ashen. Ha-jun turned to him. You have 2 options, Ha-jun said. Option 1, you testify against the Yangdingpo gang. You provide evidence of their operations, their contacts, their plans. In exchange, the prosecutors will recommend a reduced sentence. You will still go to prison, but you might see freedom again before you are too old to remember what it feels like. And option 2, David's voice was barely a whisper. Ha-jun glanced at his father. Woo-jin's expression was unreadable. Option 2, Ha-jun said, you refuse to cooperate, and my father's associates will visit you in prison every single day until you wish you had chosen option 1. David closed his eyes. I'll testify. Good choice, Minjun said, and signaled to the remaining guards. As they escorted David out, Ha-jun remained seated. His father sat beside him in silence. The city stretched out below them through the massive windows, millions of people going about their lives, unaware of the small war that had just concluded in this room. What now? Woo-jin asked. Ha-jun took a deep breath. Now I sell the company. All of it. Callaway, the subsidiaries, everything. I will pay back every investor, settle every debt you incurred to buy it. Whatever is left, I will split between us. You do not want to keep it? Build an empire? I do not want an empire, Ha-jun said. I just wanted justice, and now that I have it, I want to be free. Freedom is an illusion, my son. Perhaps, but it is an illusion I would like to chase. Ha-jun stood, straightening his jacket. I am not you, father. I will never be you, but I am grateful for what you have done, for saving my life, for giving me the tools to save myself. Woo-jin stood as well. For a moment, father and son simply looked at each other. Then, slowly, Woo-jin extended his hand. Ha-jun took it. You have grown, Woo-jin said quietly. Perhaps there is hope for you yet. Perhaps, but I will grow on my own terms. He turned and walked toward the door. Min-jun fell into step beside him. As they entered the elevator, Min-jun asked, "What will you do now?" Ha-jun watched the numbers descend. 42, 41, 40. I am going to disappear for a while. Travel. Think. Figure out who I am without her, without any of this. And your father? He will do what he has always done. Survive, rule, build his empire on the bones of his enemies. Ha-jun smiled, but there was no joy in it. That empire is not mine. It never was. The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened to reveal the bustling lobby, people moving with purpose, everyone chasing their own version of success. Ha-jun stepped out into the crowd. For the first time in months, he felt light, free. The weight that had been crushing him since the accident had lifted, replaced by something he had not felt in years. Hope. He walked out of the building and into the Seoul afternoon. The rain had stopped. The sun was breaking through the clouds, casting long shadows across the pavement. Behind him, in the tower of glass and steel, his father watched from the 42nd floor, watching his son walk away, watching him choose a different path. And for the first time in Park Woo-jin's long and violent life, he felt something he had not expected: pride. 3 months later, Ha-jun stood on a beach in Thailand, his feet buried in warm sand. He had sold everything: the company, the assets, the remnants of his old life. He had settled his father's debts and walked away with enough to start over. Not rich, but comfortable, free. Nicole was awaiting trial. David had testified, and his cooperation led to the dismantling of the Yangdong-po gang's operations. The media had covered it for weeks. The scandal of the century, they called it. The socialite who tried to murder her husband and ended up destroying herself. Ha-jun did not follow the news. He did not need to. That chapter of his life was over. He pulled out his phone and sent a single message to Min-jun. I am okay. The response came quickly. Good. Your father asks about you sometimes. I tell him you are finding yourself. Ha-jun smiled. Tell him I found myself, and I am not coming back. He knows. He is proud, even if he will never say it. Ha-jun pocketed his phone and looked out at the ocean. The water stretched endlessly, blue and infinite. Somewhere out there was a future he had not yet imagined, a life he had not yet lived. He had been broken, he had been betrayed. He had walked through hell and come out the other side. But he had survived. And that, he realized, was enough.